There's been some news report about a survey that was done, sort of like Secret Shopper, except that these people were going into hospitals and discovering that people were being treated really badly. They weren't being nursed properly. They were basically being abused, neglected. And well, I've known this for many years. I've spent nearly 2 years of my life in hospital, and I know just exactly what they're like. And I have absolutely no intention of being in that situation again. It's the reason I fight to keep active. I've been for my swim today, which proved to be extremely painful, but it did eventually stop hurting. Or at least, dialed down to a hurt I could deal with quite easily. And it worked out that the pain sort of started to subside about 2 hours after I had taken my drugs. And so I think that is how long it takes to get into my body and work. So I think I need to be taking my drugs earlier, when I'm, going to go and swim. And the reason I think that is, one, because the pain sort of started to subside, and two, because when I first started with the morphine and gabapentin, about 2 hours after I had taken it, I would start to feel mellow, which is one of the side effects. In fact, it was described as far worse than that, but I was lucky it didn't affect me in that way at all. It just made me feel really quite relaxed and pleasant. It doesn't happen anymore. I don't really notice that I've taken anything, apart from the pain starts to go down. Speaking with my new doctor, and I have increased the amount I take of all of my drugs, all of my pain-killing drugs, obviously not the heart drugs or the gut drugs, or the liver drugs, they all stay the same dose. But it's important, for anyone who has a debilitating disease, to really fight as much as you can. Don't go overboard, but, don't take to your armchair and just stay there and think, oh, that's me fucked. I suppose I just have to sit here and wait to die now. No, you don't. And you mustn't have that attitude, really. You're looking at somebody who I seriously thought I would never ever be able to cope with a disease such as the one I have. I knew somebody else who was in chronic pain, and I wondered how on earth they could live with it. Well, now I know. It's funny, isn't it, that I knew somebody else with the same condition. And strangely enough, mine started back in the 80s. By the middle 80s, it was well on the way. But I didn't know. And, anyway, it's a long story. You don't really need to know that. Life, whatever happens to us, life just has to be lived. You do have a choice. Of course, you have a choice not to live. But I think it's probably worse to just sort of sit around and mope and give in. I don't intend doing that, which is why I will not end up in care. I will not end up in a hospital and have to rely on strangers to take care of me. I would rather be dead. And I'm not exaggerating. No way at all. Because I know precisely what it'll be like, no matter how many reports are done, no matter how many inspections are done. I know what can happen. I've never forgotten what can happen. But one of the things that really does help me is having the dogs, because they need me. I have to get up in the morning because they need to go out to the toilet, etc. I can't just leave them and ignore them. No matter how I feel when I get up, I have to get up, and that's all there is to it. It takes me quite a while to get up. Do you know, the two dogs that I take to bed with me, they're ever so good. When I get up in the morning, or when they know that I'm about to get up, they move. And they go and sit on one side of the bed, and they just watch and wait while I get up. I think they probably look quite puzzled because of all the grunting noises I make. I didn't know that I did that until I started doing this video thing. And one day I was doing it and I was showing my dogs, and I was moving forward to get a dog each time, and every time I did it I grunted, and I had absolutely no idea that's what I was doing until I saw myself on the video doing it. And I thought, oh. Anyway. So I have to get up for them. And I mean, like this afternoon when I went for my swim, I have to say I didn't particularly feel like going, but I went anyway, because you just have to ignore that. You know the difference between not really feel liking it and not being able to. There is a difference. And the more able we keep ourselves, the longer we will remain able. It's as simple as that. You know, I'm fully aware that one day my spine's going to get the better of me and my legs will stop working. Or whatever. I don't know how this pans out. I know how it's panned out with a couple of other people. It's rather horrifying. But we're all different. And I have a good attitude, I believe. And I get the most out of life that I can. But it does mean that I have to make myself do things. I can't afford to lay back and do nothing. For a start, that would negatively affect my weight. And I already find it hard enough to keep my weight stable without not doing any exercise. And, you know, I would not want to cut down even further on my food because it's a real pain. I hate it. And in a way, I'd much rather have a better metabolism than have this disease removed. So I was distracted by something on the telly about the amount of children being sexually exploited. I think, oh fuck, are these people only just waking up to this? I mean, it does really irritate me that they come on as if this is something new that they've discovered. It has been going on for as long as human beings have existed. And, you know, people's attitudes to it are really screwy. I remember a few years ago, I was mortally offended by somebody who really just could not get it. Was saying that sexual abuse of children really rather depended on what size society you lived in as to whether it was abuse or not. And I thought, pardon? And she quotes this frigging tribe where the men fuck the boys when they're 12 years old as their entry into manhood. I wanted to throttle the woman. I said, that's still abuse. That's still wrong. It's got, you know, and all that's happened in this particular tribe is the men have managed to convince people it's normal to do that and that it's right to do that. That's all. It just means that abuse has become normalised. It doesn't mean that it isn't abuse. And like these, we do have some very cocky ideas. Is, you know, a woman having sex with a school pupil tends to titillate. A man having sex with a school pupil and they want to hang him. you know, men who have wives half their age tend to get patted on the back, and yet a gay man or a gay woman who has a lover half their age, you know, is spit upon. It's all really strange. It's all to do with consent and power, and age doesn't really... I know the age of consent in this country is 16, but even at 18, 19, 20 or whatever, I mean, basically what I'm trying to get at is because of abuse, some people are unable really to give consent. Until they understand boundaries and things. But anyhow, I'm sorry this isn't a happier video. I thought it might have been. Well, it's not that it's unhappy. But, you know, for those of you who have difficulties, you just, you know, have to push yourself. Even if it's just a little. You know, even if it's just sort of to do this with your hands, which I do a lot. You know, I'm just stretching them and clamping them, and keeps it all going. That's why I knit. Or you can do that, stretch your arm and lift it up as high as you can. You know what I'm on about. If it hurts, do it. And I'm not saying it'll stop hurting, but it'll at least be able to keep you moving. Because that's what it's about. It's not about getting better. It's not about stopping it hurting. It's about keeping it moving. Because the last thing you want is to not be able to move. That really would be not good. Don't even want to go there. Anyway, that's it from the Git in the Armchair. Yes, I think that'll do today.